Okay, so good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, sir.
So good afternoon. Okay, so I will be also taking your subject of HVDC and facts. Okay, so in this semester I will be taking two subjects. This HVDC and facts subjects I will be taking fully of my own. Okay, and the other subject which I have taken already a class of, that is the soft computing. That load will be shared load. Okay. Okay, so that subject is shared, but this HVDC and fact subjects will be taken by me. Okay, so these are the contents for this lecture. So regarding HVDC, what is HVDC? Evolution of the HVDC transmission, converting from AC to DC, then advantages of HVDC transmission over HVAC transmission, applications of HVDC transmission, and types of HVDC transmission links. Okay, so I will try to cover all these topics if possible by today's lecture. Okay, because there is a shortage of you can say internet as well as power loss, power cut. So okay, so what is HVDC? So have you heard the word HVDC before? Okay, so most of them are not joined. So those who have joined. Okay, so Preeti, have you heard the word about HVDC?
Yes, sir. High voltage DC.
Okay, so where is it used?
In transmission systems.
Okay, in transmission system. Now generally the transmission we all are familiar with all are AC transmission, isn't it? So why is transmission in HVDC is also important? Can anyone tell? Does HVDC has advantage over HVAC? Because we all know that earlier when electricity was first means discovered, electrical machines were came into action during the early 19th century. Okay, so Thomas Edison was there, Nikola Tesla was there. Nikola Tesla introduced AC, but before him, Thomas Edison and the other engineers and scientists, they introduced DC machines, and then the power was distributed using DC. The major disadvantage of DC distribution is that DC voltage cannot be stepped up to a higher value. That means if you have a DC generator, if you are generating a voltage of say 500 volt or 400 volt, whatever, so you cannot step the voltage up. At least that was not possible in those days. That is why the distribution was only limited to few kilometers. But after the introduction of AC, what happened? The AC has the advantage that we can use a transformer for stepping up the voltage and also stepping down the voltage. So if you step up the voltage, so what happens? The current reduces. So if we are able to transmit the power at long distances. So the power losses becomes very less. Okay, that was the advantage of that is still an advantage of AC. But it is observed that if the distance is too much, suppose 500 kilometer, 700 kilometer, okay, then you have to increase the AC voltage to a huge value in order to minimize the current, because the main challenge in a transmission line is that if the current is more or it is significantly more, then it will result in a huge amount of power loss as well as voltage drop. So the disadvantage of DC was that you cannot reduce the current, but in AC we can reduce the current by using the transformer. But if the kilometer, the span of the transmission is too high, then what we have to do, the current, if it is say suppose 200 ampere is transmitting, so that 200 ampere up to say, or you can say 100 kilometer is okay, but 200 kilometer is okay. But if it is 1000 kilometer, okay, then it may result in a huge amount of loss. So for those purposes, high voltage DC can be used. Okay, so high voltage DC. Now, how can you step up a DC voltage? Is it possible? Anyone? How to generate high voltage DC? Can anyone say? How to achieve high voltage DC?
Sir, by using boost converter.
Boost converter. Okay, that may help, but will not help too much. Okay, boost converter. So please elaborate boost converter. What do you mean by how can I apply boost converter?
Sir, it's just step up the DC voltages.
So by how much margin can you do that? Suppose the DC voltage is 500 volt. Can you step up to 500 kilovolt? Is it possible to, increase it by 1000 times? Okay, so generally what happens in DC, the power that is generated, obviously it is not generated using DC generator, because the power plants that we have, because majority of the power that is being generated in our country actually comes from coal. So those are thermal power plants. Okay, so in thermal power plants we use alternators, that is AC generator. That is alternators generate power in AC. Okay, now then suppose a particular alternator generates voltage at a range of say generally 11 kV or maybe 15 kV, or at max it can generate at a voltage of 21 kV if our alternator is 500 megawatt. Okay, synchronous generator, that is alternator. So that 11 or 15 or 21 kV has to be stepped up to for 400 kV for transmission, but for HVDC it is stepped up at a higher voltage. Okay, so if suppose 500, 600, 700, okay, you can step up, because it has to be, or it is not mandatory to step up that high voltage also. Okay, because if you can step it up at 400, 500, that is quite sufficient. So what happens if you step up that to a certain high voltage, then it has to be rectified, because the generation is coming from AC and then the transformer is stepping up the voltage to AC, then it is rectified. After rectification it becomes DC. Now the transmission will take by using the DC supply. Then the transmission will be done using the DC, entire transmission. Then at the receiving end site it has to be again converted into AC, because suppose 500 kV, so it cannot be used, because the consumers we use appliances which run on AC, because the distribution has to be done in AC. So that is why, and also it has to be connected to the grid, because all over the country means the AC transmission takes place in AC. So few specific regions we use HVDC. That means the HVDC power has to be connected to grid also. So that is why in the receiving end side the HVDC is again inverted to, using inverter we are converting it to AC, and then again stepping down and then distributing to the consumers. Okay, so the high voltage direct current, that is HVDC, electric power transmission, uses direct current for the transmission of electrical power, in contrast with more common alternating current systems. Okay, HVDC allows power transmission between AC transmission systems that are not synchronized. That means it can be used, that means it can be interconnected with AC also. Okay, so may not be synchronized. Why? Because the advantage, now comes the advantage. The detailed advantages will be explained in bullet form in the PPT, in the notes, but just for a brief I am explaining to you that the advantage of HVDC is that since in AC transmission we use 3 phase, okay, but in HVDC we can use only 2 phases, that is positive and negative. That means we are not using a conductor, so we are actually, that means one single conductor can be we can say that conductor is discarded, because in AC we have to use 3 conductors, but in DC we can only use 2 conductors. That means the transmission cost is also minimized. Okay. Next is, if there is a disturbance in the line, suppose frequency disturbance is there. So we all know that when we have to connect 2 alternators or any machine, AC machine, maybe it can be alternator, it can be induction motor, whatever, or a synchronous motor. If it is connected to the grid, frequency should match, phase should match, okay, all these things has to be matched. But in HVDC, since the power is converted or rectified into DC, okay, then there is no frequency. So you can easily match 2 different supplies. If the voltages are equal, then you can connect it, because there is no synchronism required, because there is no frequency. So that means you can connect to the AC system also that are not synchronized. Okay, because what happens if you want to connect with AC, then how can you connect DC with AC? You cannot do that. So for that, the DC which is there, HVDC which is there, after transmission, it has to be converted into AC also. Okay, now if you convert it to AC, you are setting the frequency of your choice. Suppose if it is 50 Hz in India and it can be 60 Hz in USA. So if you are connecting that 50 Hz in India to a grid, then you can, using an inverter, you will just set 50 Hz, then you will connect. That means the power does not have to be synchronized, because you are manipulating that. You are manually setting to 50 Hz, then you are connecting it to it. So it is quite easy. Then connecting any AC to AC, it is quite easy to connect. It is quite easy to connect DC with DC and DC with AC, provided the DC has to be converted into AC back to AC, then it can be connected. Okay. Now since the power flow through an HVDC link can be controlled independently of the phase angle between the source and the load, it can stabilize the network against disturbances due to rapid changes in power. So that means it has the ability to stabilize itself also, because the amount of stability also increases, because there is no concept of phase angle between the source and load. Okay, and there is no phase angle between voltage and current also. Okay, that means there is no concept of power factor. Okay, that means it also discards the application of many other appliances or equipment such as capacitor bank, phase shifter. All these things won't be required in a HVDC transmission system. So this is the layout of the HVDC transmission system. You can substation rather. You can see on the left hand side we have the power source, okay, which is connected to the grid, and this is the bus bar. Now after the bus bar, that means it is obviously the transformer is not shown, because this alternator shows that it is the grid. It is directly connected to the grid. This bus bar is connected to the grid, so we are getting the desired transmission voltage. Okay, then the transmission, HVDC transmission has to be started. Now before HVDC transmission has to be started, the AC power has to be converted into DC. So this is the, okay, sorry, transmission is shown over, transformer is shown over here. Inside this we have the HVDC transformer. So HVDC transformer does not mean that it is working on DC. No, it is a transformer. Transformer always works on AC. The name is given because it is used for this HVDC line. Okay, so we have this transformer, then the voltage is stepped up, then it is converted, that is rectified. Okay, that is rectified, and we are getting the DC supply. Then the power is transmitted using the overhead transmission line. Okay, then at the receiving end, again it is connected to the grid, receiving end side. Before connecting to the grid, as I have told you, you have to again convert the power back to AC. So we are using a rectifier, or you can say a converter, or so it should be an inverter actually. Okay, and again back to AC, and then again after AC it should be stepped up, and then you will get the power. Okay. Now HVDC also allows transfer of power between grid systems running at different frequencies such as 50 Hz and 60 Hz. That means practically for AC system it is not possible to connect the power between the suppose you have transmission lines and grids which are operating at different frequencies, so you cannot connect them. But if it is possible to connect if you are having HVDC. That means suppose there are two grids which are separated by say 200 kilometers away from each other, and one grid is operating at 50 Hz, one grid is operating at 60 Hz, maybe suppose some other countries. Okay, so in that case you can connect them if you convert the AC to DC and then connect them using the HVDC line, because once you convert into DC then the concept of frequency just vanishes. Okay, so you can directly connect the power, this means the transmission line between the two grids if the voltages match. Okay, so this improves the stability and economy of each grid by allowing exchange of power between incompatible networks. That means the networks which were not compatible with each other. Okay, so because there is a concept of compatible also, because we know that different electronic devices are there which has to be compatible with each other. Similarly, in electrical transmission also, the different grid has to be compatible with each other. So you cannot connect randomly with one grid to another grid, or connect any instrument with another grid directly. So it has to be compatible. So that is the challenge in AC transmission. But in HVDC transmission, once you convert into DC, then this compatibility problem goes away. Okay. High voltage is used for electric power transmission to reduce energy lost in the resistance of the wire. So obviously the resistor, since we are using two conductors only in place of three conductors for HVDC, so that means the current will travel only through two conductors rather than three conductors. So obviously the power loss will also minimized. Okay. For a given quantity of power transmitted, doubling the voltage will deliver the same power at only half the current. So obviously, because before transmitting we are stepping up the voltages, so via the AC because using the transformer we are stepping up the AC voltage. So what we will do, we generally convert the voltage to a desired value, and automatically the current is also reduced to a desired value. Then after the rectification, then the transmission can be performed. Okay, so automatically the power losses are minimized. Now since the power lost at heat in the wires is directly proportional to the square of the current, doubling the voltage reduces the line losses by factor of 4. This is also a case. So this is discussion about the power loss due to you can say due to heat loss. Okay. Well, power loss of transmission line can also be reduced by minimizing the conductor size. Large conductors are heavier and more expensive. Okay, so there is also a different, you can say, topic of discussion. So there are multiple ways of reducing power transmission. So if you have studied meshing design, then you will be able to understand. Then while designing a transmission system, a lot of parameters have to be kept in mind. Okay, at what voltage the transmission will take place, accordingly the conductor will be chosen. So now for HVDC also there are similar classifications also. Okay, so accordingly the conductor will be chosen, but it is obviously in AC one advantage is that since there is skin effect, so the conductor material will be required less. Okay, but if the discussion comes that in HVDC you can discard a conductor itself. That means what I am saying, in AC we have three conductors R, Y, B, and conductors, since skin effect is there, we are not using the center, so we are using a hollow conductor. So obviously the conductor cost is reduced if you are using a ACSR hollow conductor. Okay, but in DC, even though you are not using a hollow conductor, but still the transmission conductor expense is reduced. Why? Because you are using only two conductors. So the third conductor which you are not using, that plays a very significant part. That is a difference maker. Okay, so DC has 2 conductors, AC has 3 conductors, and most importantly, the transmission tower also is different, because in HVDC the transmission tower will has 2 arms. Okay, but HVAC we have 3 arms. Okay, so that is also a difference. So that means one arm less, because one arm less means what? You are not using one conductor. So what I mean, suppose if you are using a transmission line of single power, not double power, suppose only sending. So this is a transmission tower, suppose. Okay, this is a HVAC transmission tower, but for DC we use only 2 arms. Because only positive and negative. That means the construction price also reduces. The installation price also reduces for HVDC. Okay. Now, evolution of HVDC transmission. So how did this HVDC transmission evolve? Now, commercial HVDC pioneered in the 1950s, starting with the 20 megawatt, okay, Cortland submarine land project. So it was after the AC was introduced, because after Nikola Tesla, when Nikola Tesla invented or discovered the concept of, he discovered that without using brushless motor or without using that commutator, the power can be used as AC itself in DC generator, and then the AC generator was also introduced. So that was already in the market. Okay, then it was also discussed that AC has the advantage that this power can be stepped up, but if the power is stepped up and again converted into DC, then also we can apply it or use it. So that was introduced first in 1950s. Okay, where this was actually based on the mercury arc valves, because in those times thyristors were not there. Okay, so rectification and again inversion, that is inverter, that was not as advanced as nowadays. Okay, so that was also a challenge in those days. Okay, then in the 1960s came a major evolution through General Electric. All of you know this is the company with Thomas Edison has introduced. GE, first it was called the Edison company, then it is converted into General Electric. Now it is known as General Electric in USA. So they introduced the SCR, that is the silicon control rectifier, which are nothing but thyristors. So with the application of thyristors, the AC can easily be rectified into DC. So all of you know the 6 pulse, 12 pulse conversion. So through these 7 decades of HVDC technology evolution, there was a long period of feast and famine for the companies in the HVDC business, because HVDC is not, you can say it is not frequently applied everywhere, because it is only used in certain location specific purposes. Okay, because in the city areas where densely populated areas, we use AC, because at every interval of time or every interval of distance, we will be there will be a town or a city, so we have to install substations. Okay, so that means the span of transmission is not too much. For that, HVDC is not recommended. HVAC is sufficient. But in areas where the span is too much, the span between the transmission lines is too much, or you can say source to consumer end, in those areas HVDC are used. So it is only used in very specific regions. That is why 1 or 2 orders, if a company takes only 1 or 2 orders, then that company, suppose is given a tender or assignment to install HVDC in an area. So if a single order is given, it may take 1 year or 2 years. Okay, so 1 or 2 orders can keep a supplier busy for 3 years. Okay, it may be keep the suppliers busy for 3 years. And after the completion of the project, it is not it is not you can say expected that the supplier will again get a new project. So it may happen for 1 or 2 years they are not getting any project, because HVDC transmission is not that much popular and not that much frequent. Okay, it is not that much required everywhere. So if a company is getting an order, it may happen that for the next 5 years it may not, the company not might get any order. Okay, that is why it is called as long period of feast and famine. That means if you are getting an order, the company knows that if I am getting an order, then HVDC transmission setup will take almost 3 years, 2 to 3 years. So for 2 to 3 years they will get the money. But once the project is completed, it might happen that they will not get any project for coming 2 years. So this situation arises. That is why most of the companies which were introduced in the 60s and 70s, they actually closed, because the number of orders they did not receive that much order. So that is why globally 3 main companies only exist and they do this HVDC transmission work. Number 1 is ABB, then Siemens, then Alstom. So these are the only surviving companies, because their business is not only regarding HVDC, because they have a huge global business of electrical machine design, okay, then transmission, AC transmission. So they also take up the project of DC transmission also. Okay, so these are the companies which are still existing, sustaining. In the recent years, the HVDC business has increased well beyond expectations of most experts, and the 3 manufacturers are hard pressed to keep up with the demand. That means since all the small companies have left the market, so the major 3 companies are there. So nowadays HVDC work is increasing now slowly. That means in the 60s, 70s or 80s, that amount of HVDC was not there. The project was not there, or demand was not there. But since the HVDC business is increasing, so now the demand has increased. Now every company or every tender, generally when the government is investing on a power project, so they cannot rely on small companies, so they will obviously rely on the big companies. That is why these ABB, Siemens and Alstom are doing the monopoly business, okay, worldwide regarding the HVDC system or transmission system. Now expanding the grid. Now how the grid is actually expanded all over the country. Now the developing countries, particularly China, India, Brazil, okay, they are actually coming into the market of HVDC. They, with sustained high growth rate and fast growth in the electricity energy demand, have undertaken long overhead transmission lines from hydro and fossil energy resources and are expanding their systems with ultra high voltage AC grid and ultra high voltage DC long distance overhead lines and some HVDC back-to-back projects. So these countries are now, since the population is increasing, so the thing is, the expansion, power expansion is also increasing. That is why the HVDC is also increasing. So not only HVDC, India has that means the ultra high voltage also, 800 kV, 765 kV. Okay, so ultra high voltage projects along with ultra high voltage DC and HVDC are also being, means this system is also expanding. So HVDC is also expanding along with ultra high voltage AC. Okay, so UHVAC is another topic. Okay, that is also applied in many areas. So that has also some advantages and disadvantages. Similarly, HVDC also has some advantages and disadvantages. Now, depending upon the location, depending upon the consumer, depending upon the load, okay, economy, generally it is calculated and then it is chosen that which is the optimal one for an area, whether HVAC is better, whether ultra high voltage AC is better, or ultra high voltage or high voltage DC is better. So depending upon many criteria and characteristics, these are classified and these are chosen. Okay, so several 800 kV 6000 megawatt projects and higher are under construction or in the planning process, and there seems no end in sight. So these are actually in running regarding HVDC and ultra high voltage AC. This is just a statistics which I have gathered. So these are the projects. You can understand 6000 megawatt project under a high voltage DC as well as ultra high voltage AC, and slowly the projects are increasing also. Okay. Europe has enormous HVDC projects. So Europe has already advanced earlier, Europe and USA. So they have enormous HVDC projects because their transmission takes place long distances. But for different reasons, because European utility and energy companies that can hardly expect new overhead transmission corridors have taken on the harnessing wind energy, diversity of hydro, wind, storage and other resources of energy with the underground and underwater transmission. So for underground and underwater transmission also HVDC can be used, okay, because since they are long distance underwater, okay, so that is why HVDC is generally used in those purposes in these European countries. Most of these HVDCs, because it only takes 40 miles to 50 miles, that is 64 km to 80 km of transmission length to make HVDC more economical, okay, not to mention having control of power flow over an HVDC line. One second. Okay, so Europe has found it appropriate and economical viable to pay for underground, underwater and underground HVDC cables to harness the available energy sources. So as I've told you that HVDC can be used for, generally used for long distance. So underground, if you want to transmit the power in underground, okay, because underground distributions are generally used in many parts of India, cities. Underground transmission is a huge, you can say a huge project which has lot of investment, but maintenance is very less in underground, okay, and underwater also, because in underwater if you place HVDC, then it also becomes quite economical on a long run, okay. So that is why Europe has implemented those invested on those areas, and they have calculated that HVDC cables are quite economical if they are used for underground or underwater. Recently, the HVDC technology also have evolved. The voltage source converter, that is the VSC technology, enables the use of cables with no polarity reversal. This is separate topic of discussion, because VSC, because in FACTS devices you will because this subject will also introduce FACTS, okay, flexible AC transmission systems. So those are actually power electronic devices which can be used generally for the improvement of power quality and voltage stability and etc. So in that part you will be studying about the details of VSC, okay, voltage source converter. So this increases the dielectric cable withstand strength to nearly twice the DC voltage, and solid dielectric cables, okay. So this is the technical part where it tells that this VSC technology, that means the high voltage DC, if it is used with the help of the VSC technology, then it increases the dielectric cable withstand strength, okay, to almost twice, okay. There are other advantages of the recently evolved modular VSC technology, including no need for AC or DC filters. So lower cost transformers, black start, and almost free leading or lagging reactive power as required up to 30% rating. So underground HVDC transmission does not require any prolonged permit process and may even enable shorter route to its destination. The VSCs require semiconductor devices that have turn-off capability and presently use transistors whose current and voltage capability is half that of thyristors. So VSCs have evolved against the thyristors, okay. So they have, you can say they can permit the HVDC quite a long distance, and those rectifications are quite efficient because this current carrying capacity, okay, because the current capability is half that of thyristors, because it can be reduced to a very low value. So therefore, with the continued advancement, we should expect significant cost reduction in VSC based HVDC technology. After 6 decades, HVDC technology feels like a new technology. Now, converting AC to DC. The challenge, however, is to transmit via HVDC. So, main challenge is that the conversion of HVDC DC to AC, AC to DC, and then DC to AC back. Okay. So first the AC power must be converted to DC to begin the transmission process, and then when it gets to the desired time destination, that is the tie line or whatever, the grid or the consumer end. So in that case, the DC power must be converted back to AC to be utilized on the grid. Okay, it has to be converted back. So these are the challenges. So conversion technology is well established. Electrical pioneers were working on these building blocks for HVDCs back in the late 1800s. Okay, so conventional techniques, because see, conventional techniques were there, but those are not significantly, what you can say, did not have significant efficiency, and did not have the reliability also in those days. Okay, that is why those HVDC conversion techniques became obsolete because of the introduction of these SCR thyristor and the VSCs. Okay, so previously mercury valves were used, then the SCR are used. Okay, so the original Gotland link could transfer 20 megawatt over 98 kilometer long submarine cable with a voltage of 100 kV. So this is just an information that it was first introduced, that underground cable, so there is submarine cable, that means under the river or under the sea, the HVDC transmission was actually used. Okay, and almost 20 megawatt power was transmitted at a span of 98 kilometers at a voltage of 100 kV. Okay, the service were re-engineered in 1970, increasing the capacity to 30 megawatt, and voltage was increased to 150 to the addition of thyristor valve bridge. So previously using the mercury arc, okay, using the mercury arc, that technology had some shortcomings. That is why the power could not be increased beyond 20 megawatt. But with the introduction of SCR, that is thyristor valve bridge, the power was increased to 30 megawatt, and the voltage was also increased to 150 kV. Because obviously, if you want to increase the power, you have to increase the voltage, because increasing the current is not sufficient, is not, you can say, the increasing current will result in more power loss, so it is not acceptable, isn't it? That means if you want to increase the power transmission, you have to increase the voltage. Okay, because voltage into current will give you the apparent power. If you and cos phi is there depending on the load. So if you want to transmit more power, you have to increase the voltage. Okay, then to maintain the same current, because the conductor has some current carrying capability, so you cannot suddenly increase the conductor, you cannot replace the conductor. Okay, because if the conductor has the capability of certain ampere, you cannot increase it. Okay, that is why increasing the voltage will be much more convenient. So this is just an elaborate discussion regarding these technologies. You may go through this. Okay, I will share the notes with you. Now, advantages of HVDC over HVAC. Okay, so the advantages, first is economics. Okay, so the cost of towers is greatly reduced with the less right of row cost and a simpler structure, because the structure I have already shown to you that HVDC uses only 2 conductors, so the transmission tower has only 2 arms, but HVAC has 3 conductors, so 3 arms. Okay, so that is why the construction, that is the tower construction, is also reduced. Cost of tower construction also reduced, because we are using one conductor less. Okay. Now the same amount of bulk power can be transmitted using only two conductors. That means we are not sacrificing the power transmission or the power capacity. We are transmitting the same power but using a less conductor. So losses are reduced to 2/3 of the HVAC link. Okay, so you can understand it is reduced to 2/3 because 33%, or you can say because reduced to 2/3, that means it is reduced by 1/3. Okay, so previously the loss was 100, now the loss is 66.67. So 33% has been reduced. Okay, so the efficiency of the line is also increasing. So main reason is that in HVDC we can use only two conductors in place of three. So obviously if you are able to discard a conductor, then 33% loss can be minimized. So that is a huge minimization of loss. So minimization of loss means increasing the efficiency, and increasing the efficiency means lowering the installation cost as well as running cost. The installation cost is also lowered, running cost is also lowered, and there are other advantages also. That is, in HVDC there is no frequency, so there is no skin effect, and there is less corona due to the absence of frequency, because corona will be there because because since you are transmitting a high voltage in DC, so the dielectric strength of the air will get disturbed, will get damaged. So there will be hissing sound, there will be corona effect, but it will be comparatively less compared to AC, because in HVDC we don't have frequency. So the frequency is less, then corona will also be less. Okay. And one more important thing, the last point under economics, that why HVDC is very much preferred for long distances, that in HVDC the intermediate substations are not at all required, because this is a topic of discussion, a different topic, because in HVAC AC transmission, what happens for high voltage or extra high voltage transmission, suppose at 220 kV or 400 kV or above that, there is a problem of reactive power. Okay, so transmission lines consume reactive power, then there will be reactive power shortage also, because the transformers are there, they consume reactive power. So reactive power compensation is required, otherwise the voltage will not be stable, because the alternator can generate reactive power. Okay, now the transmission lines which are spread through long distances, and at the consumer end there are you can say in intermediate there is a suppose there are substations where transformers are there. Okay, in those areas, when you are going for the secondary transmission, then primary distribution, then secondary distribution, so if in the entire process, intermediate, you have to use substations. Why? For stepping down the voltage, but also while you step down the voltage, the transformer consume reactive power. Okay, so once they consume reactive power, so we need reactive power compensating devices such as capacitor bank, which is the most used one. So in HVDC, reactive power concept is not there. So HVDC is only used for transmission, not for distribution. So when you are using HVDC for transmission, you know that you are transmitting the voltage at a certain level, suppose 400 kV. So you will not be stepping down the voltage anywhere. So you start the voltage at 400 kV, after 200 km it will be 400 kV. Then if it needs to be stepped down, then we will be using a substation where the HVDC is converted into AC, then it is stepped down using a transformer. But throughout the 200 km span, when the DC was transmitted, okay, in that time the substation is not required, because reactive power compensation is also not required. Okay, so these problems, that means this investment of a substation, intermediate substation, is gone. That means there is a huge curtail, or you can say minimization of investment. That is why it is very much economical for HVDC for long distance transmission. Now, technical performance. The use of HVDC improves the dynamic and transient stability in the AC networks with which it is connected associated. So, stabilities means the all of you have studied the dynamic stability, transient stability. So, the stability also increases. Okay, for the HVAC stability increases because the HVDC means the power is transmitted through HVDC. How? It is quite a complicated concept, but just a brief idea I'm giving you. In a grid, okay, what is a you can say in a grid, or you can say an infinite bus. Okay, there is an infinite bus. The power from all the different areas are being connected to it. So the voltages are common, frequencies are common. Okay. Now, if the different lines have different disturbances, then that will be carried forward to the other lines also, because they are connected to the grid or the infinite bus. But if a line is coming from HVDC, okay, then it is inverted to AC and then connected to grid. That HVDC line has very less disturbance. Okay. Okay, they have very less disturbance. They have very almost zero frequency disturbance. So if it is connected to grid, then that means it is contributing towards stability of the grid. So the grid will be more stable if more and more HVDC lines are connected to it. That is why it is called. It is said that when the transient and dynamic stability of a network, of a AC network, of a grid increases if more and more HVDC links are connected to it. And obviously HVDC links will be connected after converting into AC. Okay, but throughout the transmission there should be less disturbance in the HVDC. The power transmitted between the ends of the links are fully controlled. The voltage profile remains flat, which implies that the voltage remains unchanged with the distance. So there is no disturbance in voltage because there is no reactive power compensation required. So there is no voltage disturbance. Okay, and voltage drop will also be very less because you are using only two conductors. Okay, and one more important thing, in DC there is no reactance, because in AC what we have, in AC the voltage, that is the receiving end side voltage, is equals to sending side minus I into Z. And what is Z? Z is equals to R plus JXL. And there is capacitance also, because you have studied the performance of transmission line, isn't it? ABCD parameters, voltage stability, long transmission, short transmission, medium transmission. Okay. But in DC, it is generally used in long transmission and it has only voltage, resistance. So receiving end side is only equals to sending end minus I into R. So obviously in transmission line, XL, AC transmission line, XL is very, very greater than R. So obviously Z is greater than R. So voltage drop in an AC transmission line where same current is there and same conductor material is used, this drop will be more compared to this drop. Because in DC transmission there is no frequency, so there will not be any XL, because 2 pi f L. So F is not there, so XL is 0, so it is like a simple resistance circuit. Okay, but in AC it becomes a RL circuit, so the voltage drop increases in AC, but in DC the voltage profile almost remains flat. Okay, the HVDC link proves to be an ideal means by which asynchronous operating AC networks can easily be interconnected. So as I've told you that in HVDC obviously it is not operating under AC, so there is no frequency. So there is no frequency, so there is no concept of synchronizing before connecting any AC appliance or three-phase machine with the transmission line or the grid, or rather transmission line, because you want to connect any instrument. Suppose a three-phase induction motor to a HVDC line, you can connect. How? just at the HVDC receiving side, you convert the HVDC back to HVAC using inverter, and at a set frequency will be given by the inverter, and then it will be connected to the 3-phase induction motor or 3-phase synchronous motor. So there is no concept of synchronism. Okay, so any asynchronous machine can also be connected to HVDC link. HVDC line can transmit power over long distances because it has less power loss. Okay, so now reliability. HVDC is much more reliable than HVAC link. Why? Because there is very less amount of fault in HVDC link. The amount of fault is very less. Why? Because we have only 2 conductors. Okay, there is a less chance, and more, there is no concept of harmonics, distortion, frequency unbalance, okay, voltage breakdown or voltage instability. Okay, all these problems are not seen in case of HVDC so much compared to HVAC. Now the incorporation of light activated thyristors in the converter units have proved to increase the reliability of the HVDC, you can say DC links. So light activated thyristors are newly introduced technologies, you may learn in the due course of time. So those have increased the reliability of the HVDC links. Okay. Now power loss. In case of 3-phase, this is just a numerical explanation given. The power loss is generally 3 into I square R, that is the RMS value of I. Okay, there is the active power loss in megawatt, obviously I square R. In HVDC, in bipolar, okay, there is monopolar bipolar systems, okay, we will be studying later. So in that case, we have only 2 conductors, so it will be 2 I square R, but ID means the DC power or DC current. Now if you divide 2 by 1, it is 2/3. So it was already discussed that the power loss is reduced by 2/3. That means 33% improvement in efficiency. Therefore, the losses in the case of HVDC reduced by 1/3 when compared to the 3-phase 3-wire AC system. Okay. Now, investments cost. So I will conclude my lecture up to this by explaining this part. So in the figure below, you can see this graph. This is very important. So this is a graph between distance on the x-axis, investment cost on the y-axis. That means as the distance increases, the investment cost will also increase, obviously, because more number of transmission lines will be introduced. Okay, so obviously the investment cost will increase. Now it is observed that in HVAC, the investment cost is quite less, okay, compared to HVDC at the beginning. But after a certain time or after a certain length or distance, the investment cost of HVDC becomes less compared to HVAC. Okay. So it can be observed that the cost incurred on a 3-phase 3-wire transmission system appears to be economical below the breakdown distance. So this BD is called the breakdown distance. Breakdown distance means above which the investment cost of HVDC becomes more economical compared to the investment cost of HVAC, which is generally around 500 km for overhead lines, and for submarines it is 50 kilometers. Submarine means for the underground or underwater. So for the overhead it is 500 kilometers. So before 500 kilometers, suppose 200, 300, then HVAC is used, because HVDC investment cost is huge for shorter span, because you have to build a converting station, that is AC has to be converted into rectified to DC, then again at the receiving end side the DC has to convert it back to AC using inverter. So this is a huge investment conversion, but in between there is no investment. Okay, and above 500 kilometer AC transmission becomes more expensive. Why? Because above 500 kilometer obviously you have to use huge voltages, because if you are transmitting at 400 kV for a 500 kilometer, that means there will be huge amount of power loss, I square R loss. To minimize that, you have to step up the voltage to 765 or even in megavolt. Now if you want to transmit power at megavolt, suppose 2 megavolt or 1.2 megavolt, it is possible. But that 1.2 megavolt transformer, you can understand that what is the amount of, what will be the huge size of the transformer and manufacturing cost of the transformer. And if you want to build a transformer at the receiving end side also, then it will consume huge amount of reactive power. So reactive power compensation will also be there required at different intervals. Okay, can you understand what I'm saying? So that is why the investment cost of HVAC above 500 km is very, very costly. That is why for those purposes, special purposes, HVDCs are used for the distances above the breakdown distance. That is why HVDC is not seen in our country too much. Okay, because 500 km span is not frequently observed in transmission line because it's not necessary. But in many areas there exists HVDC transmission, and in many other countries where the population is very much dispersed, okay, or scattered, in those areas HVDCs are used. Okay. So I am concluding my lecture up to this. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay. I will continue the lecture in the next class, remaining portion, because I have very much less battery backup. Okay, and there is a power cut also in the college. Okay, do you have any question? Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I am calling out the names. Please respond. Akash Prajapati.
Sir, Akshay Prajapati is
Oh,
there.
sorry. I have mistaken. Akshay Prajapati. Okay.
Yes, sir. I am present.
Okay. Anish Kumar. You are not. Okay. Anjali Rani.
Present, sir.
Avinash.
Present, sir.
Okay. Deepak. Mamta.
Yes, sir.
Ziul Haq Ansari.
Yes, sir.
Priti Kumari.
Same, sir.
Okay. Ritesh Kumar.
Present, sir.
Okay. Shambhas Singh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you for today's lecture. So I will be sharing the notes with you in the Google Classroom. So I have already created a Google Classroom. So I will share the notes and then I will share the classroom code with you. Okay, later. Okay, so thank you then for today. You may leave now. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.